So today we will see how we can manage manufacturing in HostBooks ERP. So before starting the demo, I'm going to showcase you what things we are going to discuss. So first of all, there are certain modules जिसमें हम work करेंगे like production planning, inventory management, procurement module, quality, and of course the finance module. So we will see how first of all we have to create the masters जितने भी bill of materials हैं production related, routing masters, work centers, machine masters, and of course the inventory masters. So these will be prepared. Then we will see how the demand can be categorized into on the basis of sales order, forecasting, production plans. So we'll see that as well. And based on the demand or the forecasting, then we can analyze what type of material is required as per the bill of material. So whether we need to do procurement if the material is stock out, or whether we need to do internal manufacturing for the semi-finished goods or other type of packaging materials as well. So we'll see material requirement planning. Then for the planning purpose, production planning purpose, we will see how and what is the capacity of the machines, what type of job card orders has to be given to production team for different operations, and what priority we have to set for different sales order based on the sequence of task. Then as and when we record the production plan, we can check out what material has to be issued as per their requisitions, whether that material is available, not available, so that everything we will track. And once we receive the goods from the vendors, from the job contractors, then we will also check out how we can check quality. So quality can be checked as per the receiving or as per the production whenever it gets completed. So quality check we will manage. Then whenever the production gets completed, we will check out what is the total material cost that has been incurred, labor cost, overhead cost, machine cost, and how we can arrive at cost of goods manufactured from the application. And those goods, once they are ready for dispatch and placed in separate warehouses, we can track warehouse wise inventory available and where different storage or allocation areas, how we have bifurcated those inventories. And once it is ready for delivery, we can create the delivery challans directly from the sales order. So those type of integrations we are having in the system. And there are multiple reports and analytical reports with respect to production, quality, inventory, stock out reports. So these are the certain things we are going to discuss in this today's demo of manufacturing, right? So let's start. I'm just now going to start with the application. So this is the dashboard first of all of HostBooks ERP. There are different modules which you can see in the above menu bar, like your sales, purchase, banking, inventory, manufacturing, projects, etc. And there are certain modules which are hidden from the screen. So admin has the control of the application. He can invite multiple users. He can provide them access to the modules which are needed by them. He can define the policies, what users can perform in the application, what they cannot perform. Everything is controlled by the admin. So in this case, with respect to production, first of all, we will see what type of masters we are going to configure, how those masters can be created, whether they are going to be created one by one, whether they are going to be created or uploaded in bulk Excel sheets, we are going to identify. So inventory master is the very first master that we are going to see, which is given over in the pro inventory section. So here we can create item masters, service masters, bundles, unit of conversions, bill of materials, groups of inventory. So I'm just going to this pro inventory section. Now over here, you can see there are different menus. So very first is this inventory bar. Here there's a long drop down options available, like how you want to create a group of item, category of item, attributes or variants related to the item. And once you create these things and you go to creation of the item, you can map these groups, categories, attributes, everything with the item itself, right? So I have created some item groups which I can showcase you. Like we can divide it into the construction material as a separate, stationery, beverages, etc. Similarly, in the attributes, I have created like the grading of the item, grade A, grade B type of material we are receiving or manufacturing. In, let's suppose, in fashion apparels business, there can be multiple sizes, multiple colors of the item. So like this, we can also create the variants of the item, which can be assigned with the item. So you don't have to create a separate item size wise, color wise. You can maintain the same item in multiple sizes, multiple colors, right? So this is how the attributes can be created, and accordingly they will be linked with the item. Coming directly to the item master. So I'll showcase you quickly how you can create an item and what details you can define in the item master. So I'm opening an item which I have already created. So first of all is the inventory type. Here you have to define whether the item is a purchasable item or a manufactured item, treated as a finished goods, semi-finished goods, raw material. So basically, this validation is for the items. If you are going to manufacture, you have to tick over here, and then only you can create bill of materials. And for the other type of items which are not manufacturing, you can select bought out, right? Then the item name, what unit of measurement you are going to apply. There are different details which can be managed, right? Whether you want to create multiple batches each time you are purchasing, each time you are manufacturing, then you can enable this batch tracking option, which will help you to track the item inventory batch wise. Then we have barcode numbers, whether you want to assign any barcodes to the item. We have this group category, whether which group is applicable with this item, which category is applicable. We have item identification. So this is basically a unique item code, serial number, or in cases of mobiles, AMI number, or any other unique field you want to apply to the item, so that later on you want to track this item serial number wise across the system, you can maintain it, right? So this item identification can be enabled for these purposes. Then we have attributes. So as I mentioned, I have created an attribute like color or sizes. So if this item is being purchased, sale, or manufactured in multiple colors, multiple sizes, so I can define it like this item comes in red color as well, orange color as well, black color. Similarly, in how much different sizes or colors, that as can be selected. So once you select these attributes, when you go to the transaction level, while selecting the item, you can also map which color or size you are selling, purchasing, or manufacturing, and accordingly you can get the reports from the system attribute wise. Right. So these are certain level of details which can be defined in the generic information of the item. Then for the purpose of taxation, we can define whether this item is taxable, non-taxable, whether VAT is applicable or GST is applicable. All those things can be defined. Then for the purpose of account settings, which ledger or chart of accounts the effect will go during the time of sale vouchers, purchase voucher, we can link those ledgers, and accordingly it will be auto populated. What is the valuation criteria, first in, first out, last in, first out, weighted average method you want to follow, you can decide it accordingly. Now then there are certain other details, like if you want to manage your item through minimum levels, maximum level, reorder level, and you want to get the reports from the system whether certain items are out of stock or not, whether they are nearby the minimum level, so that you can purchase them or create a purchase order. And if you're manufacturing them, you can pass a production order based on those inputs that you receive from the system. You can manage this quantity level as well, right? So these are the main things which are required for the production. Rest, discount and schemes, pricing schemes you can create for your sales purpose as well. So I'm not going to go into these details. We can capture in further sessions how we can create pricing schemes. Now, once we have created all the item master, whether it is the raw material, whether it is a semi-finished goods, whether it is a finished goods, then we can create a bill of material for the manufactured items which we are doing. For that purpose, you have to create a BOM. In the BOM, you have to define what different raw materials are required and in how much quantity they are being required, right? So here in the BOM level, you have to select a production of the item which you are going to manufacture. Then what are the different raw materials? There can be multiple line items which you can add, and each raw material, how much quantity is required, standard quantity that can be defined, which variant of that raw material is required. You can define the variant as well. So there are multiple options available over here which can be defined. Is there any standard loss applicable, so that if you want to track whether during the actual production you have consumed or you have done more than that specific standard loss, you have consumed more than actual quantity. So this BOM will be used in various purposes, right? So BOM will be created for all type of items which you are manufacturing in-house or which you are doing from the subcontracting. And you can also upload various type of attachments. And if there is a requirement for revising the BOM, then you can create a new version. And you can also track what was the earlier version by clicking on this previous BOM list. So you can revise your BOM multiple times. You can create multiple BOMs for the same item. And while doing the manufacturing, you can select the BOM which is applicable for that production. So this is how we can create a BOM master in the system. Now, once we have created this bill of material, the next is the production related masters, which are given in this production module. So in this production module, there are certain masters which first of all needed to be created. Like the very first is the factory master. In this factory master, we have to define where are our different locations or factories in which we are doing our manufacturing. So you have to create this master. You can define the by default warehouse, total area, measurements. So these certain details you can define and create the factory master. The second one is your shift master. So there can be multiple shifts in which the labor or other workers are working. You can create the shift name, at what time, standard time the shift is started, and what time the shift gets closed. You can create multiple shift master. The next one is the labor master. What are the different labor type of labors which we are using in the production, and what is the rate card of that labor that can be defined, and this labor rate card or cost master can be created. Next one is the machine master. So there can be different type of machines, box centers, which we are utilizing for the production purposes. So we can create a master for them as well. We can define what is the costing per hour, hourly basis of that machine. With the technical information, we can define power consumption, kilowatt per hour, minimum production quantity required for this machine, in which shift generally this machine is being used, working days which are applicable for this machine. Is there any specified scheduled downtime? So you can create that downtime, effective hours per shift, output quantity per shift. So all these details can be defined. Then what are the different labor which are required to use these machines, or operators which are required to use these machines? You can define that as well. For your costing purpose, you can define the date of purchase, life, warranty expiry date, insurance expiry, and any type of supporting attachments which you want to upload. You can maintain them within the machine master. Then comes the operation master. So this is basically different processes which are needed for a specific item in manufacturing. You can create those operations as a specific master. Like there can be a cutting operation, there can be some other finishing operation. So you have to create the operation name, whether that operation is being done in our own factory, it is being outsourced, whether it is related to labor intensive or a machine intensive operation. That also you can define, and you can link this operation with the machines, tools, consumables, or labors as per the requirement of this operation. Now, once these masters are created, There are certain other masters, like what are the different tools which are needed. So you can create masters for tools as well. Once we create all these masters, then we create this process card or a route card. So this routing has to be created, wherein we will define what are the different processes which are needed for this specific manufacturing item. So in this case, I have selected shoes, for which I have predefined certain masters or certain operations which are needed. So like three operations are needed. I have tagged those three operations. In which location or in which factory I'm going to do these operations, I have defined that as well. Whether these operations will be done in our own factory or should be done to outsource subcontractors, that also can be defined. And I can define a name for all these processes or routes, like it is a route, process number one, process two, or stage one, stage two, like this. And there will be a bill of material that has to be tagged in each specific process, so that the system knows what input raw materials will be going into that process, what output will be generated, right? So accordingly, it will auto populate the output name from that bill of material. And you can also specify the output time. According to it, you can further analyze, if you generate a production plan, like how much total time it is going to take to manufacture this item. So if you have already tagged the byproduct which is getting generated from this process, those can also be seen over here, right? So this route card, processes card, can be created for each manufactured item, and which can be used for production monitoring purposes. And we have to pass a production entry process wise, right, based on this process card. So once we create all these master, now we can start with the production flow, right? So the very first is now how we analyze what is the demand, how much production we have to do. So it can be make to stock, it can be make to order, right? So for make to order wise scenario, you have to first of all create a sales order, or it will be created by your sales team in the sales module, wherein you have to define what are the different items required by the customer, how much is the total quantity, and every other detail which you want to record in the sales order, you can record them. So this is a type of sale order. These are certain items. This is a delivery date. This is a quantity, a budget price, unit price. Everything is mapped over here, right? Now, if the item is a sales to production item, then we can go with the manufacturing process and we can define it. And also we have the reports. So like we are receiving multiple sales order from the customers, and we want to analyze how much quantity we have to manufacture, or which is already available. So for that purpose, we have given this production planning report. So here we have to define, we have to select whether we have to generate this report on the basis of sale order, what type of plan we want to see, whether we want to see planning for day wise, week wise, or month wise. So suppose I want to see week wise planning report, up to which date I want to see the order that has to be fulfilled. So once I click on update, it is now showing me that these 5 items order has been received, which are pending currently in the system. This is the required quantity. This is the available quantity in the system. This is a shortage, and week wise, how much quantity we have to dispatch, right? So this is the report for pending sales order, which are not fulfilled yet. And we can decide how much quantity we have to manufacture for these orders. You can export this report in the Excel format for your further purposes, and accordingly you can analyze it. So certainly we also have one more report with respect to sales order, which is called inventory order report. So here you can track delivery date wise. If you specifically want to see, like on 11th of December, sales order wise, what item we have to deliver, how much quantity we have to deliver, then you can select date wise. It will show you item and order quantity, and you can download these report into item wise, group wise, category wise. So these reports which are generating in the system will help you identify the total production demand based on customer requirements, right? So these can be used. And suppose if you want to forecast based on the history of your sale invoices, based on the history of sales order, like we have done we received the sales order for 500 quantities in the last year, and if I want to analyze the forecasting for this year, then for that purpose as well we have given the report. So we will go to stock report. We will click on filter. We will select forecast demand. Now demand can be forecasted based on these four options. So if we want to analyze based on sales order, we can select a sale order. What is the period for which we want to analyze, or last month or custom month, you can decide that. And what increment you are expecting this year, you can define the increment and click on update. Accordingly, it can showcase you the forecasted demand, stock out, etc. So these reports can be generated, right? So this is how we can generate different reports first of all before deciding how much production quantity we want to arrive. Now coming directly to the production. So we have arrived at a situation where we want to do the production. It can be based on sales, it can be based on forecasting. So we will create a production plan for it first of all. Here we have to select start date of this production plan, end date of this production plan. So now if you have doing production on the basis of a sale order to fulfill a sale order or multiple sale order, you can select those sales order from here, right? So once you select the sale order, it will showcase you certain details like for which customer this order was received. Now, if you click on manufacture of, since there are one only item in this sales order which has to be manufactured, it is showing in the drop down. Once we select that item, system will automatically select the item details. Now you have to click on this planned quantity. As per the sales order, you have received a order quantity of 45, but if you have some minimum order quantity as per the machine or as per certain other criteria, you can change this quantity that needs to be produced or manufactured, right? So accordingly you can decide. Now when will this a production order has to be generated? So in this production planning you can also define like production has to be done on daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. So all these are different parameters which you can define, and accordingly you can arrive at a production order as well, right? Certainly it will also showcase you the estimated cost of production, like what is the total material cost, labor cost, total cost of production as per the historical data which is there in the system. Okay, so now I'm going to save this production plan. Once we save this, we can now create a production order. We can create a single production order, we can create multiple production orders as per our requirement. So we'll go to production order screen. We just have to select the production plan which we have created, and accordingly everything will get auto populated from the production plan. Just we have to define it on which date we are going to do the production or production has to be done. Rest other things you can define, and there are other related fields which are for your purpose, like whether any job card is required, whether for which department, which machine will be used, is this for a specific project, etc. So there are different things which you can specify. And since we have created a process card, it is showing that for this production these three processes has to be done, and you have the option to select on which date the first process will get started, which date the second process, etc. So you can define that as well, right? So I'm going to save this production order now. Let me select the production unit. Yeah, so once you select, it will be generated. and will be showing as approved and pending. Now we have the option, like since the production order has been issued, so production team will need these raw materials which are required for the production. They can create a material requisition note from the system. So they will go to this MRN option. Since the requisition has to be done warehouse wise, we have already created certain warehouses like a shop floor as a separate warehouse, issuing warehouse as a central store. So you can create multiple warehouses in the system. And here I will select for which specific production order I want to receive the items or it has to be issued. So here, once I select the production order, those items will get auto populated. Like whatever items or raw materials are required for the manufacturing, they will get auto populated. And the respective quantity can also be adjusted based on the available quantity of the current receiving warehouse. So all these things can be done. You can review these things and accordingly you can save them. Once you approve, let me just enter the quantity once again. Once you approve this material requisition note, it will intimate the issuing department or issuing store like these items has to be transferred to the production team. For that purpose, the store team has to create a material transfer note. So this is the material transfer note creation screen. Uh, the store team first of all can check what are the different material requisition notes which are pending and from how long they are pending. They can analyze that as well. So here I'm going to click on create MTN, select the MRN for which I'm going to transfer. And based on the selection, it will select the items and respective quantity which is requested, right? System has the validation. So if specific item which is being requested and the quantity is not available, it will not allow you to transfer. So assume if the quantity was 6,000 and available quantity is 5025 and I want to transfer this, then here you can see the system has responded total quantity available is 5025 and required quantity is 6,000 which you cannot transfer, right? So there's a validation wherein it cannot allow you to transfer the item which is not available in that specific warehouse, right? So in this case, since I have the quantity available, I can directly approve it. But for the demo purpose, let's assume the quantity is not available. And here the storekeeper or the store person, he has the option to request the purchase team. For that purpose, we have the option of purchase requisition. So purchase requisition is basically wherein the store person can define for which specific store, which person is creating this request, what is the priority, and what are the items that are required to be purchased from the vendors. So they will click on the MRN and the items will get selected and you have to then click on save and this purchase requisition will be created. Right. So this purchase acquisition will intimate the purchase team like these four items against this MRN. This much quantity has to be purchased from the market from the vendor. So once the purchase team receives this intimation, now they have two options. If they have directly want to create a purchase order, they can go to the purchase order screen. But if you have multiple vendors for specific items or multiple items, and you want to receive quotations from those vendors, and you want to compare those quotations as well. For that purpose, we have given an option of request for quotation. So in this request for quotation, you can tag the purchase requisition or you can type the items which are required and accordingly it will you can select what are the different vendors from which you want to receive the quotation. So suppose I have selected that specific purchase requisition. I can define what is my expectation delivery date. Other things I can define like packaging requirements, mode of transport, payment terminologies, etc. And against each item, multiple vendors you can tag from your vendor master, right? Like this. And once you click on save and you specify all the terms and condition, the system will send an email to all these vendors. And in that email, there will be a form wherein vendors can define how much quantity they can provide you, what is the quotation price. So this is the tracking form for request for quotation. If the form you want to see, this is the form. So this type of form it will open wherein vendors has to define how much quantity they can perform, how much quotation price they are going to define, right? So they don't need to have actually the hostbooks application for replying to this RFQ. They just have to open the URL and they can reply back, right? Once they reply back, the system gets the response automatically, and you will see over here what is the status for each vendor, whether they have replied, not replied, etc. And once you receive the responses, you can compare their responses based on multiple parameters. So there's a comparison button. You select the parameters. It can be pricing, it can be quantity, it can be multiple parameters you can select. And once you give the weightage to the parameters, system can show you based on comparisons which vendor is economical, which vendor is fast delivery, etc. And you can decide from here for what item which purchase order has to be issued to specific vendor, right? So this is one of the transactions or one of the option. Like from purchase acquisition, you can click and generate RFQ, and from RFQ you can decide the purchase order. Otherwise, you have the option to directly go with the purchase order. So here, once that purchase order is being created, now you can track whether goods has been received, it is not received, it is paid, not paid, and finally the bill has been received or not, right? So if I open any of the purchase order which is active, you will see there are multiple options in the purchase order options, like create new version, edit, create a GRN, create a bill, stop, void. So as per your requirement, you can select it. And once you receive the goods, you will click on create GRN. All the items which are received as per the PO, you have to mark them as received and save this GRN as approved. Once it is approved, it will be showing as approved. But if you have defined in the item that quality check has to be performed, then in that case, that GRN will be shown as pending for quality check. So in the GRN listing page, there are different status. In pending QC, you can see this GRN is pending for quality check. And system will also intimate the quality engineer that some goods are received for which the quality has to be checked. So here the quality module comes into the picture. So in quality module, there are certain parameters which you can create for different items. Each parameter, there are certain details which you can define. What is the acceptable criteria? What is the tolerance limit? So all these details can be defined. And then once you create all the parameters, you can create a quality plan for the inward items, control plan for the items which you are going to manufacture. So let me show you what type of quality plan you can create. So in the quality plan, we can define item wise, group wise, category wise, what parameters are needed to be checked by the quality engineer against that specific item or a specific item group, what inspection method is to be checked, what instrument is to be checked, and what is the acceptable range, how much sample size he has to take, whether he has to select all the batches or any first batch, how much defective percentage, passing percentage is allowed, or is there any certificate that has to be received from the vendor These are certain details which you can map in the quality plan. And based on this quality plan itself, the quality engineer has to check the quality every time you receive the goods or every time you process certain manufacturing entry, right? And it will be shown as pending for quality check in the system. So there is a quality dashboard. From there, you can track in inward inspection what are the different transactions which are pending. In the in process inspection, that is production, what are the different transactions which are pending, right? So let me just show you how you can create an inward inspection entry and you can define the approvals or rejections of quantity. You will go to the inward inspection, select the document type, select the document which is pending for quality check. It will automatically select the items which are received. And now here you have to select reading report and define how much quantity is approved. You have to select the observation you have to provide, like how much observation or inputs you have taken from the inspection or the instruments that has been used for quality check. And based on those inputs, you will pass or you will reject. The action has to be selected, right? And all these reading reports will be saved in the system. You can anytime download this quality report, and if there is some items which are getting rejected, you can define it as a wastage or a scrap, how much quantity is wasted, scrapped, etc. So in the quality entry, certain item quantity will be approved or it can be rejected. Approved quantity will go to the master warehouse of that item. Rejected quantity will go to the scrap or rejected warehouses. And from the rejected warehouses, if you want to return those items, you can create a debit note. And from that warehouse, those items will be returned to the vendor. So this is the process for receiving the items. Now coming back to the production, we have received the items which we have requested to the purchase team. Now the store person can go to this material transfer node and they can transfer the items. Now, once the items are received in the production floor, the production team will do the production and accordingly they will do the production entry, which is process wise. So in the production entry, you have to select in which factory you have performed the production, against which production order. If there is a job order as well, you have to select that, and which process you have completed. So in this production order, that item, 3 processes were needed. So if you have completed process 1, 2, 3, as a case may be, you will select that process. It will auto populate the items of that process. You have to define how much quantity you have actually manufactured, whole quantity or any partial quantity. If you have enabled the batch tracking, then that batch will also get created along with the manufacturing date, expiring date, etc. So there are certain details which will get activated as per the features you have enabled in that item master, right? Now, if it is a machine-based production, then you have to tag the machine. If it is a labor-based production, you have to define how much labor hours you have taken for the production, how much quantity each labor has performed, right? So all these things you have to tag. Let me tag an ledger as well for that. So there is a material consumption option, which is showing you as per the standard quantity of bill of material, how much quantity you may have consumed. But in actual, if you have consumed less than that, more than that, then you can change this actual quantity. And if you change this actual quantity, it will also show you the variance quantity. And if there is some quantity which is getting scrapped or wasted during the production entry or the production time, you can define that quantity as well, and you will get a wastage report for that, right? So this production entry will be done for each process, which will reduce the quantity of raw materials SFG of that process and will increase the output item quantity. And specifically, if quality check is marked against that specific process, it will be shown as pending for quality check. And again, the quality engineer has to perform in process inspection entry, and certain items he has to approve, reject, or rework has to be done accordingly, right? So this is the flow for the production. During the production team has different reports for tracking purposes. Like if you will go to this production monitoring screen, you can monitor process wise which production order, which process is completed, which process is not started, like that. So you can track each and everything, right? Similarly, if you want to see the production dashboard wherein how much total quantity has been manufactured, what is the total cost, etc. So you can go to these production related reports. It can be filtered item wise as well, semi-finished goods wise as well. So you will generate this report and it will showcase you the total item cost. So this is the item name. If it is against a specific sale order, then sale order quantity. Against that sale order, how much was the production order quantity? So like this, you can get this report. Similarly, there are other reports like production item cost summary, which can show you process wise cost of the item in that production order. So I've selected a specific item which is being manufactured. This was the total cost which I have incurred, right? This is the per unit cost which is being divided by the total quantity, and thereupon you can see the raw material cost, actual cost, and the variance cost if there is any variance, right? And if I go to the reporting segment, inventory reports, there are certain different reports like stock statement report, which can show you opening quantities, manufactured quantities of all the items, sales return, wastage. So there are different use cases that we have covered in the reporting segment as well, right? So like this, you can generate these reports after the production, during the production, to track production, and for analyzing what is the total cost that has been incurred and in which warehouse those specific items you have placed. And once these items are ready for dispatch, you can directly go to the sale order and you can dispatch those items by converting the sale order into a delivery challan or an invoice. So you will create the delivery challan, and whatever items which are ready, you can select them, or other items you can remove, and accordingly you can create this, right? So this is how you can manage all these items. Thank you.